What is good, everybody? Welcome to the Gold Diggers podcast on the Gold Standard Podcast Network. I am Rob Stats Guerrera. It is Friday. She is Michelle Magdziuk. Happy holidays, Michelle.
Hey, I'm so ready for this weekend. I need some holidays in me. I'm excited for Christmas. Are you vacationing or staying at home?
No, I'm saying the Niners play on Christmas Day. I'm not going anywhere, but I have to ask you before we get into everything, what's the holidays for you? Is that like when you drink with hats on? Because I know you got a mimosa.
Oh yeah, every day's a holiday in the Magdziuk household. But on Christmas morning, I'll have some Baileys in my coffee, open up some Christmas presents. We do breakfast with the fam, come home, relax a little bit, then go have dinner with the fam. It's just a great little day. And then there's 3 football games on Christmas this year. You couldn't ask for anything better.
Yeah, it's going to be a football weekend for sure. We're going to break down Niners Ravens. We'll give you our best bets like we always do every Friday, but we have to begin with announcing our YouTube partnership with Community Tree Service LLC. We're super excited about it. They are the first YouTube sponsor that we have had, friends of the show, and they do it all for you. Tree trimming, land clearing, hazard tree removal, home fire hardening, debris removal, whatever you need, Community Tree Service will get it done from the Central Coast to the Bay Area, and estimates are free. Just call 831-763-2391, or you can email estimating@cts831.com now to schedule your appointment. My favorite part, if you tell them you're a 49ers fan, you get $200 off your quote. But if you tell them you are a Seahawks, Cowboys, or Eagles fan, you got to pay an extra $200. So maybe just keep that under your hat, or if you have a neighbor or something you don't like, tell them they're a Cowboys, Eagles, or Seahawks fan. Community Tree Service is licensed by the California State License Board, license number 1100816. Let's dive into Niners Ravens, Michelle. This is like the last Christmas present you open. Maybe you don't see like part of your family till like a week after Christmas, and they give you that one final Christmas gift. That's what we have on Monday night.
I am so excited for this game. I'm so excited. It's the night game. So, the family stuff should be over with, right? There's nothing to distract us. It's not like we have to pretend not to be rude and like side eyeing the TV, but like try. I love it. It's a night game. They really did. I mean, the NFL this year the scheduling has been iffy, right? A lot of the primetime games and huge moments, they turned out to be terrible. Like just with the injuries or whatever, the team's not being as good as we thought. But this game lines up perfectly. The top seed in both conferences meet up on Christmas night. This should be such a good game. I'm so happy it's in San Francisco.
Yes.
I'd be way more worried if it was in Baltimore, but I'm feeling good. I think the 49ers got this. I know the Ravens are all upset about the line and that they're underdogs. They think that they should be the favored to win this game. That would make no sense to me with it being in San Francisco, but let them be a little pouty. I don't think that's going to matter.
Yeah, how could you not have the 49ers as the favorites? They're at home and they've won 6 straight by 12 points or more. So like I know the Ravens are good, but they haven't been that good, and that's just a fact. By the way, this is only the second time ever that you've had 2 teams that are in sole possession of the top seed in each conference play each other this late in the year. Like this just doesn't happen, but that's the 2 teams that we have. They're both really, really good, but I just don't know how you can pick against the 49ers right now, especially in their building.
Do you know what the first matchup was?
Yes, it was Seattle and Indianapolis in 2005.
It was the 49ers and the Bengals in 1981.
Oh, you said the first matchup. I'm sorry. The last matchup was Seahawks Colts. The first matchup was Niners Bengals. Okay.
Okay. I think you're confusing me. Oh, we have different stats. We have different notes. This will be the second matchup since 1970 between an AFC and NFC team tied for the best record in the NFL. So not just first seed, but they both have the best record in the NFL this late. And that was the Bengals versus the 49ers. The 49ers won, and then they met in the Super Bowl that year.
Really quick, I want to get to this super chat before we dive into this. We appreciate all the super chats. Lettuce49 says, I got to hear Michelle's thoughts on Jalen Hurts' recent struggles since she's a big fan of his. His clips recently have been mega bad.
Yeah. He's struggling. He's struggling. He's going through a stretch of struggling. I mean, all quarterbacks do that. We saw Brock Purdy do that for a stretch. He looked deathly ill I don't know why he played, honestly. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. And if you're that deathly ill, like, yeah, I can't blame him. But he looked like he was dying. I don't know. Yeah, the Eagles are struggling, but who cares about them? Let's care about the
Amen.
49ers and getting
That's
that first overall seed because they can clinch it this week. I mean, they need a lot of things to go their way. They need a win and they need Dallas, Eagles, and the Lions to lose. But if that all happens, they clinch this. Let's go.
And they'll know by the time they kick off whether or not it's possible. And I feel like if the planets have aligned and that's on the table for the Niners, they're just going to go that much harder if that is the case. Now, I don't think it's going to be because you need the Eagles to lose to the Giants. You need the Lions to lose to Minnesota. And you need, what's the other one?
Cowboys, Miami. Those actually all
Miami.
sound reasonable. Maybe not Eagles against the Giants, but crazier things have happened. I mean, I'm not going to be shocked if the Dolphins beat the Cowboys or the Lions lose to the Vikings.
Modelo time, 1999, watching on Twitch. Shout out to everybody on Twitch. I love you. Would clinching the 1 seed this week be a bad thing? No. Clinching the 1 seed is never a bad thing. Yeah, you got to figure out how you manage the next 2 weeks, but no, I would love to have that problem. Let me just say that.
Yeah, and then I understand, like maybe you get too much rest, right? And because it's 2 more games left, and you're gonna rest your guys a little bit, but letting everybody get healthy is only a good thing.
This Niners team especially, and we've seen it lately, right? Before the bye week, we saw them miss a bunch of tackles, and Kyle Shanahan said, we're tired, we're beat up, and we're tired. And then they had the bye week, and they came out of the bye week, and they look like world beaters. We're a few weeks removed from the bye week. I think they're starting to get tired a little bit. 16 missed tackles last week against Arizona, up from 14 the week before, which was up from 12 the week before that. So that's not trending in a good direction. So you want to lock up that 1 seed as much as possible because that's the only thing that's going to stop this team is injuries and fatigue. If they're rested and they're healthy, they're winning.
And 100%, I keep bringing up the home field advantage. I do just think that matters so much. It's interesting because I feel like when I watch the Ravens, maybe I'm just being a biased Steelers fan. I don't know. But I feel like when I watch the Ravens, they do not look as good as the 49ers, not even close, especially on the defensive side of the ball. And I know that the Ravens have the best defense, right? They're allowing the fewest points per game in the league. And I don't think they look that dominant as the 49ers do. Now, maybe part of that is the Ravens play the Steelers and the Browns and the Bengals when Joe Burrow wasn't as good, or I don't know if they faced Jake Browning, but like they face some weaker competition. And so have the 49ers. I don't want to just like discredit everything the Ravens have done, but I don't know. They just don't seem as dominant as the 49ers seem.
Well, they only gave up 7 last week to Jacksonville, but Jacksonville missed some field goals. Whatever, 7 points is 7 points. They gave up 31 to the Rams in overtime. They gave up 20 to the Chargers, 10 to the Chargers, excuse me. They gave up 20 to Cincinnati. That was with Joe Burrow. They gave up 33 to Cleveland. So some people have been able to score on them. It's going to come down to, does Brock get confused? I was just talking with Kyle Barber, who covers the Ravens for SB Nation. And basically he was like, the Ravens like to do sim pressure. They like to disguise everything. And I know Brock is really good from the neck up, but we're not talking about a 15-year veteran. There are some things in the NFL that Brock Purdy has not seen yet because he's not a very experienced player. So there may be a couple of times when Brock isn't quite sure what the coverage is or he's confused by something. And I really think this game might swing on what does he do on those plays where he doesn't know what to do, if that makes sense.
I will say it's so important that whatever team can come out stronger, faster, right? And I that's silly to say. That's a typical thing you want to do. But both of these teams feed off having the lead. I think both of the, like, especially with Lamar plays just so much better. The whole system runs so much better when they just have the lead. And we've seen that in the Niners now. And what's interesting is these two teams are the clear leaders in the NFL this year in time with a lead. The Ravens are first. They've only trailed an hour and 16 minutes this entire season. Well, the 49ers are the next closest, trailing 2 hours of time. So pretty close to them. Everyone else is very, very far behind. I mean, these are the only two towards the top, and it's very far behind. So both of these teams are very, very used to playing with a lead. And you don't feel very confident once they're trailing. So this is going to be huge that the 49ers come out in the first half, first quarter, and really start to grow on that lead, or just make sure they're staying right with the Ravens.
I think they will. I think they're going to come out fast. It's a primetime game. It's a home game. The crowd is going to be absolutely nuts. I think they're going to come right out of the gate and stick it to Baltimore. Really quick, they want to get to this comment. Yo, Michelle, that sweater looks dope. You are wearing the Homage Niners Faithful Christmas sweater. I have my Homage Niners sweater on. If you like the hoodies, click the link in the description of this episode. There's an Homage link right there. Click our link. That'll throw a little coin of the realm our way, so we appreciate it. But if you want to get the Homage Niners gear or other gear, they have a ton of awesome stuff there. Go and check that out. It's in the description of every pod that we do. So if you don't click on this one, click on another one. But click that link, please, because that would help us out greatly. Do you think that McCaffrey will be able to run on Baltimore? Because that's going to make a life. I still think the Niners can win if Brock has to throw them to victory. But if McCaffrey can get going, there's no way the Niners are losing.
I think an important part of this is that they stick with the run, even if they shut down McCaffrey to start the game. Let's say the first quarter, McCaffrey has 5 carries, 8 yards or something, right? Like he's not really getting anywhere. Just let him continue to wear down the defense. I think that's going to be such a big part of this, to allow Brock to get those big chunk plays and to get we know Brock at home passes all over the field. I mean, he's averaging nearly 320 passing yards per game at home this year. Maybe that doesn't happen against the Ravens, tougher defense, but he should still be up there in passing yards. But they have to allow the offense to flow through the run game. So even if it's struggling at first, I think they need to keep going. And I think sooner or later, McCaffrey will start to break start to get the defense tired. So I think that has to be a huge part of their game plan. Run the ball a lot. And then even if it's struggling at first, it will start to open up.
This comment, I'm sorry, I don't know how to say your name. Is it L. Joser? I'm going to go with that. I think he can. The Rams ran on them. Even the backup ran on them and got good yardage running through them. Yeah, I believe Kyren Williams ran 30 times, or maybe the Rams as a team ran the ball.
Kyren Williams is just incredibly good. It's so weird.
Let me tell you, I don't like what the Rams are doing. I don't like it. They look very good. And even if they lose out, by the way, which I don't think is going to happen because they play the Giants next week, I think, they could still make the playoffs. So the Rams are going to make the playoffs, and they look really, really good. I picked them as the team in the NFC that I give the best shot to beat the 49ers. I think it's actually the Rams.
I don't think anyone has a chance to beat the 49ers in the playoffs for any of the NFC West teams, but the Rams look solid. I mean, they're way better than what they should be, right? The roster was supposed to come in, be one of, especially the defense was supposed to be one of the worst. They're playing really well. And I do think they belong in the playoffs, and they're a playoff team. I don't really think they're going to win more than maybe the wild card run, though.
Stafford is on fire. He's so freaking good. Oh man, he's the reason why they are where they are. It's him and McVay, because McVay is a good coach. Lettuce49 says, do you think Lamar is overrated? I don't. I think Lamar is awesome. And I think that if you just look at the box score, you might be like, I don't know. When you watch him play and watch how he can avoid pressure, escape sacks, he was pressured on 49% of his dropbacks last week, Michelle. I don't think he's overrated at all.
I think it depends on who you talk to. Like if you're talking to you, then yeah, he's overrated. Like the way you just described him, I think he's overrated. But the way people were acting when he about to get paid, he should have 100% been paid. He's a franchise quarterback and he's a good quarterback. And the Ravens would have been stupid to let him walk. So it just depends. Some people really underrate him. Some people really overrate him. I'm kind of in the middle. I think he's very good. I do think if you put him in tougher situations, like if he is down, he doesn't have the lead, or if there's ever a holding call, this has been my thing with the Ravens all along. If they get a holding call, they're done. They're not getting a first down on that drive. They're not doing it. Once you put them in 1st and 20 or 2nd and you back them up, they do not get those yards because they rely so much on that. 3rd and 4, Lamar's going to get it every single time. The Ravens are going to get 3rd and 4 every single time. Back them up and get that holding call. They will not get the first down on that drive.
That is a angry Steelers fan talking right there. I could sense.
We always beat the Ravens. Lamar sucks against the Steelers. So actually, I don't really have anything against Lamar because Lamar is garbage against the Steelers. I don't know why, but that's the team he cannot play well against.
Andre Garibay, YouTube channel member, says Lamar is a unicorn. Without him, they ain't 11-3. If you want to become a YouTube channel member, please do. It's less than $3 a month. You get priority comment response, custom emojis, membership badges. If you want to pay an extra $1 per month, you get access to 49ers in 5. The second it is done, you don't have to wait until I drop it in the morning. You'll get it immediately. So please do that. And shout out to Joe Sir. I'm King Joe Sir from YouTube. I watch you on both streams to help you out on the ad money. That is a supporter right there. Holy hell. Shout out to you, Joe Sir. Thank you very much. That is fantastic.
That is very clutch. That's a true fan.
Right there. Seriously. Captain Morgan watching the stream says, this will be my first regular season game. I'm sure you're familiar with Captain Morgan. If anyone would let a couple Nebraska boys join their tailgate, let me know. That is very cool. As someone who went to his first game this year, it is an experience, let me tell you.
That is so much fun. I thought he meant he was going to Nebraska football for a second, so I got confused. But yeah, that is so much fun. He's going to his first game. Huge game. I mean, I cannot imagine this being your first NFL game. This is going to be so much fun for you. I hope the 49ers come through. And rude, I don't drink Captain Morgan. All right?
Why not?
I don't like rum. I don't like dark rum, especially. Gross.
The one alcoholic drink that Michelle doesn't drink, this person's name happens to be. Don't act.
I don't like whiskey. I don't like rum. I don't like dark alcohol.
You don't like brown liquor.
Yeah, no, I don't like brown liquor. That's gross.
Oh, whiskey's fantastic. You don't know what you're missing. All right. I saw this comment. Hindman says, is Puka Nacua better than Brandon Aiyuk? Puka's about to set the rookie receiving record, but I think Ayuk's going to be massively important in this game, especially if the Ravens try to go man coverage. I think he's the best Niners receiver against man coverage. And especially if they go in the red zone, Aiyuk is the guy. He can separate from anybody. I think he's going to have a big game this week.
He's going to have to, because if there's any defense that will have the best chance at making sure Deebo doesn't get all of those yards out of the catch and making sure they really limit him on those explosive plays, it would be the Ravens. I'm a little bit worried about Deebo could have a huge game, but I'm a little bit worried about him because I do think the Ravens are going to make sure they put focus on that, because Deebo can destroy you and he can ruin games, right? He can win a game by himself there with those huge plays he makes. So Brandon Aiyuk is going to have to step up and make those plays. And this is his game to showcase right now, right? We're getting close to the end of the season. We don't know if he's going to stay with the 49ers. He wants that big contract. Prove to us right now against a great defense that you deserve to be a wide receiver 1 and get paid as a wide receiver 1, even if it's not with this team.
And he only had 37 yards last week against Arizona, but he could have had a lot more. There were a couple of deep passes to him. He just looked off. There was one where Brock has him open deep and Brock puts it in the right spot. But you could see when you watch the all 22 that when Aiyuk comes out of his break, he's looking at Brock and Brock has already thrown the ball. So then he has to look up and locate the ball. And by the time he does, he's like, oh, shoot. And he tries to recover and catch it and he missed it. But he was open and the pass was there, but he was just a little bit off. So I hope he can right that ship, because I think he's going to be big this week. Devin Dowling says, I'm from New York, taking my wife to her first game in D.C., the Commanders on New Year's Eve. That is very cool. I have not heard good things about the Commanders Stadium, unfortunately. In fact, I've heard very bad things about the Commanders Stadium, but I hope you have a good time, Devin.
I've heard very good things about DC, though. I've actually never gone to Washington, DC as an adult. I went as a kid, but everyone that I know, any friends I've talked to that's gone there, they've had the best time. So you guys are going to have a great time in DC New Year's Eve. And the 49ers should destroy the Commanders. So who cares what the stadium is like, right? If you get to watch a blowout, that's all that matters.
This is how bad the stadium is. It's so bad. There are announcers, I believe it's the Eagles announcers, that refuse to go and call the game from there. They call it from a studio in Philly, because where they have the announcers is so brutal. Like the view is so bad. You're like tucked away, like kind of on a corner. It's a horrible view. They don't even go. That's how bad the stadium is. I think, they play them every year. It's a division game. Yeah. So, but that doesn't mean you can't have a good time. Go have fun. That sounds like an awesome trip, especially on New Year's Eve. Chad Marshall, YouTube channel member, says, is Mitch Wishnowsky the best punter in the league? We killed the team for his high draft position, making the same mistake with the Moody takes. Couldn't ask yesterday. Mitch is having an awesome year. A couple of weeks ago, I don't know if the numbers hold up, but a couple of weeks ago, he was leading the league in punts inside the 10 and punts inside the 5. He only has, I think, 49 punts all year, but he's been making them count, man.
I was going to say, what's nice is that the 49ers rarely need him to make this insane punt. I mean, how often is there really in a game where like, oh my God, we really need this punt to be like inside the 5 because this team is going to come drive down on us and we really need to stop them. Like, you guys, the 49ers are up all the time and half the time with a huge lead by the time you're close to the end of the game. But I mean, it's never a bad thing to have a good punter.
But it's complementary football, right? Because so what the Niners offense has been so good that even on the drives they don't score, they generally move the ball. And so Mitch Wishnowsky is basically punting from like around midfield most of the time. So he can place those punts so deep and pin teams deep because of the success of the offense. And of course, when you do that, you make it that much harder for the opposing offense to go down and score on you. So it all works together. And that's part of the reason why you've seen the Niners blow teams out by at least 12 points in the last 6 weeks.
I'll say Ronnie Bell. So he fumbles, right? Are we worried about that? Is Ray? What's going on with Ray?
He's on injured reserve.
Still? No
yeah.
Chance of
I think it's a rib injury or a thumb. I can't remember what the injury
was.
He's
had a lot of injuries this year.
Yeah, this just did. He ain't it. But I have said, put nobody back there. Go for the block. You cannot fumble if you have nobody back to return the punt. And that's the only thing that's going to stop this offense is them turning the ball over and making stupid plays like that. That's it.
Yeah, if that type of play happens in this game, that could be the difference because you're not playing the Cardinals this week. You can't be making those mistakes against the Ravens. They will capitalize on it. And also, man, talk about kickers. Though I know we were talking about punters, but nothing scarier than going up in a close game against Justin Tucker because like they don't even have to be. I mean, they could be so far away from if they just need 3 points, he can. Even if he was going for like a 70-yarder, I'd be sweating it out over there.
Yeah, that's true. But hopefully it ain't going to come to that. Joser says, Rob, you and Michelle are in sync. Both of your mics connect side by side. That's pretty dope. It actually does. If you look at the window, I can't believe that. My mic stand flows right into Michelle's. That's the weirdest thing ever. That's just how we roll on this show. We're like, it's like a Jedi mind meld. I like this comment. Flynn West. Stats. Has Michelle heard the third quarter stats from Levin yesterday? They are insane. Did you happen to catch our show?
I did not. I did not listen.
It is ridiculous what the 49ers are doing in the third quarter. Brock Purdy, I believe, is averaging 13 yards per attempt in the third quarter this year. I think it's 13. It's some crazy number like that. And the Niners yards per route run. It's Deebo, number 1 in the third quarter. Aiyuk, number 2 in the third quarter, and Kittle's number 5 in the third quarter this year. So Kyle is taking everything that happens in the first half. He's putting it in the lab. He's adjusting at halftime, and then they come out in the third and they just destroy you.
I mean, that's a pretty amazing stat. They're all leading in their position for like efficiency across the board. It doesn't like for all quarters. Like they're just so amazing, but 13 yards per pass attempt for Brock Purdy is so stupid.
I mean, it's absurd. Like it's comical, some of the stats, but that's where they are. That's why I keep saying they have to win the Super Bowl because otherwise we're going to forget all this stuff. We're going to forget exactly how good this team is. And I don't want that to happen because they deserve the credit. They deserve the props for having the year that they are having. Now, anything else you want to get to about this game before we get to the best bets?
Yeah, I wanted to say some scary notes. I have some scary notes here.
Don't
and
do that.
I truly 100% believe the 49ers will take care of business. I think they're the better team than the Ravens. But just a couple scary notes here. That could mean absolutely nothing. Can mean something. But so Purdy's the best downfield thrower this year, 10+ air yards, 61% completion rate, highest on downfield throws this year, right? But the Ravens are allowing the lowest completion percentage on downfield throws this year. And again, that's just 10+ air yards. I'm not talking about like deep throws, just downfield throws. They're allowing a 33% completion percentage on downfield throws. That's really insanely low. Again, when I watch them, I don't feel like they look this good, but their stats are so good. I don't really understand. But also, I was thinking Lamar Jackson, you think about his playoff games, right? And he really disappoints in the playoffs. I feel like he comes up short in big games, but this stat, on the other hand, does not show that. So Lamar Jackson is 5-0 in his career versus top 5 scoring defenses on the road.
Wow.
On the road. So that's just including top 5 scoring defense on the road. 5-0, and he's had really good games. The Ravens have averaged over 25 points per game. Lamar has 11 touchdowns over those 5 games. I guess that's not really that great, but it's just something interesting that he has been able to beat these tough defenses in away games.
He's only lost 1 game against the NFC in his entire career. Now, I know he doesn't play a ton because obviously he's in the AFC, but still, I think he's just so hard to prepare for. He's so much different than any other quarterback you face. Like, I think Kyle was asked this week, like, who's going to imitate him for the scout team? Because that's what your scout team quarterbacks always imitate the opposing quarterback. And Kyle just kind of laughed and was like, well, the guys that we have are going to do the best that they can. You can't simulate him. He's just a unicorn.
You would almost have to like let these guys go untouched for like 7 seconds before you start playing defense on them. And then maybe that's how you can simulate it, you know?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Scott Brown says, you're wrong, Mimosa. Purdy's a system quarterback. It doesn't matter if his stats are godlike. He's no good. Even the Ravens are saying Brock's not a system quarterback. So we got to stop with that freaking narrative, man. And obviously Scott's being sarcastic.
Yeah, I was hoping. I figured he was being sarcastic. I would like to just say, I feel like I got on the Brock Purdy MVP wagon way earlier than everyone else. All right. I'm going to own this one. I'm going to take it. I'm going to ride it to his ceremony.
Okay. I don't remember that.
I
won't deny it. I thought you were on the Jalen Hurts train.
Not for MVP, not for this year. I can love Jalen Hurts and say he's struggling right now. He also is second in the league in touchdowns. Like, I mean, I don't want to hear it's a tush push. Cool. I don't want to hear that. Like, that's what people say about Brock Purdy. It's his playmakers. Like, he also has to get the team to the 1 yard line in order to get those tush pushes. So he's second in the league in touchdowns, and you guys are acting like he's the worst quarterback ever. But Brock Purdy is clearly playing better than Jalen Hurts this year.
Yeah, I think that's without question.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get to some best bets. Last week, we gave you 6 best bets. We hit on 3 of them.
Ooh, that's not good.
Yeah, which we could be doing a little better. You know, with some of them we missed closely, but a miss is a miss, right? So
you know what? Sometimes stats, you don't have to say the stats.
You know? Well, no, I like to be honest. We killed it the week before. I think we hit on all of them the week before. So we try to be honest here on the show. I found a bunch of interesting numbers this week. Can I give you my first one? Because I'm so proud of myself for discovering this. And I think it's so, I'm just proud of myself.
Let's
my
do it.
fastball best bet this year. First thing I go and look at is like, okay, Christian McCaffrey, anytime touchdown scorer, because the man has 20 touchdowns this year. All he freaking does is score touchdowns. And if you go and you look at that, you see Christian McCaffrey minus 225. So that means in order to win $100, you have to bet $225. Vegas is telling you he's going to score. That's not really a great bet. But, Michelle, what if I told you you could get Christian McCaffrey anytime touchdown scorer plus 100? Would you take that bet?
Yes. How are you doing that?
If you bet Christian McCaffrey to score a touchdown in the first half of this game, you can get it plus 100. Okay. And you might be like, well, I don't know about that. 14 of his 20 touchdowns this year have come in the first half. I don't know why. It's a really weird stat. But he scores, and he scores in the first half. And if I can get plus money on that, yes, take all of the money that I have. I'm putting it down on Christian McCaffrey to score a touchdown before halftime.
I like it because if the 49ers are going to score touchdowns in the first half, I think Christian McCaffrey has more than a 50% chance of having one of those touchdowns, right? Like anytime they score a touchdown, McCaffrey has what? At least a 60% chance of being the scorer on there. I don't know. I'm just making up a percent. I could probably do the math, but it feels like he has an insanely high rate probability of scoring on any one of their touchdowns.
I love it. Somehow he's going to find the end zone, whether it's a rush, whether it's a catch, he's going to score. And I think he may have some in the second half too, but look, I think he only has had 2 games with the 49ers where he doesn't score a touchdown. So I feel super confident. That's my fastball best bet this week.
It's nice that you get plus 100 because if you just came out here and said CMC anytime touchdown scorer, I probably would have, ridiculed you a little bit there.
Oh, I know. I'm sure you were ready to laugh all at me, but Joke's on you.
Well, could I give you the easiest bet of all time?
Yes.
Brock Purdy over 252.5 passing yards. Vegas does not respect Brock Purdy in the slightest, right? I'm so sick of these passing yards that they have for him. At home, again, he's averaging 318 passing yards per game this year. So take into account the tougher matchup. Sure, the Ravens are a tough matchup, good defense. They're still giving him a 60-yard cushion, right? From what he needs and what he averages. Yeah, Purdy has over 280 passing yards in all but one home game this year. That one game he didn't hit this 252.5. He had 252, right? So you would have missed it by half a yard. You would have hated it because also, you want to know how unlucky you would have to be? That game was against the Cowboys when they were up 42-10, when Brock Purdy didn't even play like any of the fourth quarter. So he only played 3 quarters and hit 252 on the dot. That's the only time he didn't have more than 280 passing yards in a home game this year. So I don't care who he's playing against at home. He's going to hit this 252.5 passing yards. Smash it. Telling you right now, it's a 100% chance to hit. Let's go.
That's wild. That is the fact that that's a bad beat in that Cowboys game. That is brutal. But I love the cushion. That makes me feel so much more confident. Like, Vegas isn't usually way off very often. But man, if you're telling me I have a 60-yard cushion and I could still hit this thing, that makes me feel good. By the way, Joe Sir says Michelle has made me over $600 this season. So there you go, Michelle.
Let's go.
We like the receipts here, and we are grateful for everybody that keeps track of that stuff. I love that one. I saw that number, but I forgot how good Brock Purdy is at home. In my head, it was like he's better at home than on the road, but he's way better at home.
It's insane what he does at home. I mean, the amount of yards per attempt he averages. We'll see how good the Ravens defense is in this game. If they somehow keep Brock Purdy and limit him and limit this offense, then fine. The Ravens can be Super Bowl contenders in my brain, but I don't think it's going to happen.
All right, I want to go to my second best bet, and I was digging through the numbers. I know you like the longest reception, so I didn't want to step on your toes, but I'm going to go Deebo Samuel, longest reception, over 22.5 yards. And I might take, honestly, almost all the longest reception bets for the 49ers in this game because, like you said, of how good they are at home. Deebo's average yards per catch at home, average, is 21 yards. And again, his longest catch in this game is 22.5 yards. For Deebo's average yards per catch to be 21, do you know how many big, huge gains he has to have at home? Because he's also going to have a lot of shorter catches too. I think this is the easiest bet of all time. Deebo's going to bust one, whether it's a deep pass and he catches it, or if it's a 5-yard pass and he breaks 3 tackles, he's going for 23 yards. So I'll take Deebo longest reception over 22.5.
I actually didn't have any longest receptions this week. So I'm very happy that you went with one to cover our bases here. We need to have one at least once a week.
I'm surprised you didn't go with one. The Niners numbers at home are insane. Kittle's yards per catch at home is 15. Aiyuk's yards per catch at home is 23, which, by the way, if you want Aiyuk's number, his longest reception is 25.5. So you got to get a little more out of him. But just the fact that the main 3 receiving weapons for the 49ers are averaging at least 15 yards per catch at home. They are a machine at Levi's.
Yeah, I guess maybe the defense did scare me a little bit off of that. But at the same time, if I'm saying Brock Purdy is going to easily hit his over, then he's going to have these chunk plays.
Yes.
And he will. He will. So I like it. And especially because my next bet means if I think this is going to hit over, then Brock Purdy is definitely going to have chunk plays because he's not going to be passing as much. But I like Christian McCaffrey to have over 18.5 rushing attempts. Now, I think it's going to be super close, right? I think 20. And 20 is where 20 to 21 carries is where I think he'll probably be at. So it's not giving me a lot of cushion, which we were talking about with the earlier bet. We like more cushion, but I like this over because I don't want to take his yards because I don't know how efficient he's going to be able to be against the Ravens. Do I have trust in him that he'll sooner or later start to break some and be good? Yes, as long as they stick with it. But maybe he struggles at first, and who knows what Kyle Shanahan does. But I do believe that they will give him at least 19 carries in this game. So he has 19 carries in 6 games this season. So that means he has more games without hitting this than he does, but he still has done it a good over a handful of times. 18 plus carries in 8 games. Cool. More than half of the time. But he's averaging 18.2 carries per game over the last 5 weeks. So right there at that line. But at the same time, they've been destroying teams, right? So Jordan Mason comes in, or the backups come in, or they just don't want to put as much wear and tear on. They still do too much, right? But he's just missing this. It's been 21 carries, 19 carries, cool, both over. Last 3 weeks, 17, 16, 18 in blowout games. And I think if they were closer, he would have hit these numbers. And I do expect this to be a close game because the Ravens, they don't get blown out. They lose in very, very close games when they do lose. So I expect this to be a closer game. And I expect Christian McCaffrey to be, they need to run with him a lot. So give him 20 carries. I think this will hit.
And I think the closer the game is, the more Christian McCaffrey will touch the ball.
Yeah.
So if the game remains close, Kyle is going to give it to 23. And you're not going to see Jordan Mason or Elijah Mitchell or Jeremy McNichols, who was just added from the practice squad to the active roster. It's going to be CMC. So I think,
they're not going to trust anyone else with that ball in this game if it's a close game.
Especially if somebody fumbles the damn thing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think you're right on this one. I like that bet a lot. 18 and a half rushing yards. Okay.
Well, 18 and a half carries. If it was 18 and a half rushing yards, we should be putting all of our life savings on that.
Yeah, that's a mortgage payment on that one. This is a stat that I don't know what to do with, and I can't bet it because there's not any on the board, at least at DraftKings that I saw. Do you know the 49ers have had at least 3 sacks in 7 straight games?
I did not.
Right? Like, that's impressive because especially like when I think of some of the quarterbacks they face, like, some mobile guys in there, but it doesn't matter. The Niners have been getting it done. Lamar Jackson has been sacked, I think it's 34 times this year. So that's at least 2 a game for him. Man, my brain is like, don't pick Lamar Jackson to get sacked. Have you seen the man play? But at the same time, 3 sacks in 7 straight games. That's pretty damn impressive.
Yeah, it's really hard to sack Lamar. And then also because if they are running and you stop them, it doesn't count as a sack because TJ Watt just got screwed with that. Like he tackled the quarterback behind the line of scrimmage and he was like barely starting to run, but he's starting to and they didn't count it as a sack. They just counted it as a tackle for a loss. So like you could have those little like on the lines there. Like, was he really going off for a run or was he not? Or was he like, I don't really know how they decide this, but I thought it was very ticky-tacky with the one they did on TJ Watt. It was either last week or the week before.
Flynn West says, do you guys have any Ravens injury updates per chance? So again, I talked to Kyle Phoenix Barber of Baltimore Beatdown. He said the Ravens tackles are beat up to the point where they are rotating subs in for them on different series. So that's a huge, if you're rotating subs in for your tackles, that means your offensive line is not exactly in a good way, but that's good news for the 49ers because if you can get after Lamar, that's going to change everything. I know he's probably going to run more in that case, but I will always take pressuring a quarterback versus not pressuring a quarterback. And if the Ravens are rotating their tackles, that could be good news for Nick Bosa, good news for Chase Young.
Yeah, so yesterday from this, it says, in good news, safety Marcus Williams and left tackle Ronnie Stanley are on the field. Both players left last week's game, blah, blah. So that's good for them. But why Zay Flowers and Odell Beckham Jr. were both not at practice?
Odell, I think, missed practice yesterday. I thought I saw that Zay was back.
Okay.
Ronnie Stanley was in the non-contact jersey.
How's Charvarius Ward? Because that's huge.
He's, as far as we know, apologies. As far as we know, Charvarius Ward is okay. So that's good. Diamador Lenore was not on the injury report, which is obviously very good. The huge players, both have been balling out for the 49ers. So hopefully that's good. JJ00 says Ronnie Stanley looks like trash. He used to be all-pro level. He must be pretty injured. He's had a rough go of it. I know that.
Yeah, you kind of want him on the field. He's not playing well at all.
Jeez. Just step on the man when he's down, huh, Michelle?
Listen, I'm all for players. See, sometimes it's worse to have the backups in because they're trying so hard, and they're going all out because this is their chance. Let Ronnie Stanley come in. He's already, He's already done his great time. He knows that. He's injured. He's banged up. Let him struggle out there. And I think that'll be for the best.
Do you have any more best bets?
I do. So I'll go with one for the Ravens. I'll be nice and talk about them for a hot second. Isaiah Likely, their tight end, now that Mark Andrews is out, they have his line at over 36.5 receiving yards. And now normally I'd be scared against like putting a bet on a tight end against the 49ers, but I don't know what happened last week. Trey McBride goes off for 10 receptions, 102 receiving yards against the 49ers. And that's not including the backup tight end for the Cardinals, Elijah Higgins, who had 44 receiving yards against them as well. He only needs 36.5, right? Isaiah Likely. And he's hit this easily in the he's hit this easily the last 2 weeks, but he's hit this in all 3 games since Mark Andrews' injury, since he's become the main guy there. He has played 3 games. It's 40 yards, 83 yards, and 70 yards. He's become a big part of their offense. I think Travarius Ward and Lenore, like I'm not scared of Zay Flowers or OBJ doing too much in this game. So I do think Lamar is going to have to utilize Isaiah Likely, and that's such a low line. If this was at 50, I'd be nervous, but 36.5 is too low for him.
I think we have seen with the 49ers, other teams' number one weapons have really good games, even in Niners blowout wins, whether it's Cooper Kupp with the Rams or Puka Nacua with the Rams or Trey McBride last week with the Cardinals. For whatever reason, guys are able to get there, some guys, against the Niners defense. And honestly, like Zay Flowers is there and he's their number one wide receiver, but like we know Lamar Jackson likes to use the tight end. So I actually had this written down as one of my possible best bets by you. So I completely agree. I think he could have an even bigger game than that. 36.5 seems pretty low.
Way too low. I think he's going to have 50 yards in this game. And there is a comment asking, Michelle, do I start Jake Ferguson or Isaiah Likely in fantasy? I think I lean Jake Ferguson in that Miami matchup. There should be high scoring. I do think Isaiah Likely has at least 50 yards. I think Ferguson has a better chance of a touchdown though.
Those damn touchdowns. You were eliminated in our league from playoff contention.
Yeah.
Why'd you make that face?
You don't want to know.
Oh boy. Michelle has all sorts of problems with the league and my commissionership. She does not like the job that I'm doing.
Because he has a league with 12 teams in the league, only 4 make it. So no one tries. Half the league doesn't try after half the season. And then it just comes down to who you get scheduled against, people trying or people not trying.
Hey, sometimes you're defined by the things you don't have, right? Things you don't have on the shelf, things you don't have on the menu. We don't like to put everybody in the playoffs in our league. We only put 4 in.
Yeah, and then because no one else tries. So half the league doesn't care by half the season because if you're done, you're done.
First of all, I'm not even going to mention the fact that Michelle shouldn't even have been allowed to play this year because she didn't pay the league fee until 2 weeks ago. And you're supposed to have it in before the draft.
You didn't remind me.
Yeah, again, it's always my fault. Unbelievable.
I'm going to sip my mimosa. Leave me alone.
We digress. Last best bet for me. Where do I want to go? There's 2 that I'm debating between. I think I'm going to go George Kittle, anytime touchdown scorer.
Ooh, I hate that.
George Kittle has 6 touchdowns this year. 5 of them have come at home. I don't know why, but for whatever reason, again, like a lot of the 49ers, he's better at home. And I think that for a lot of defenses, George is like the 4th or 5th option that they want to stop, right? They want to stop McCaffrey. They want to stop Deebo. They want to stop Aiyuk, particularly in the red zone. You can't stop everybody. I think Kittle's sometimes the beneficiary of that. I think he's going to get one on Monday. I really do.
I don't think so. I'm not feeling a George Kittle game this week. The Ravens are pretty good at covering the tight end, like really good. And I think in this game, Kyle Shanahan's going to be a little bit more nervous. He is. I think Kittle's going to be in blocking more to make sure to give Brock Purdy some more time. And I don't know how many long routes George Kittle is going to have. And that's really where his touchdowns come from, right? It's not like he gets many targets around the goal line. So I'm not feeling this one, but maybe we'll have to have a drink bet on this or something.
Oh, okay. I was not feeling George Kittle last week. I took his under for yardage. He had 2 catches in the game. He still hit the over. He had 4 yards in the game.
No, because he has those long catches. I don't know. Kyle Hamilton, he's good, right?
Yes.
He's a really good safety.
He's
I'm
damn
so
good.
annoyed. Well, I mean, it was so stupid that he was supposed to go so much higher in that draft. And then for whatever reason, just I feel like the Ravens were putting out these reports, all these negative reports on him. And then I was like, I just know the Ravens are going to get so lucky and get him at like, I don't even know what it was, 12 or 13, like 14. I don't know. So late in the draft for where he should have been. And of course, he's great. I mean, shocker. A player who was amazing in college at safety is good in the NFL.
And falls to the Ravens. You're right, though. A lot of times the teams that like guys are the ones that are putting out the negative reports in the hopes that they'll fall.
And I knew it was going to happen, and it did. And they got him. And I hate the Ravens.
Bitter Steeler fan. JJ00 says, 6 with a first round bye. Rob, you monster. A lot of people are not happy about how I'm running the fantasy football league.
It just makes it so pointless. It really does. It's half the league stops caring because once you're out of it, you're out of it, and you're out of it so soon with only 4 teams. And then you have teams playing that really need other teams to beat each other, but they're not even setting a lineup. Rob doesn't make people set lineups. So there's guys playing that aren't even in the game. It's ridiculous. And Rob's like, I'm not going to tell them to start people. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. I played
this was the last year I'll be playing in your league because you guys don't take it seriously. It's ridiculous.
I play in a league with adults, okay? If I have to remind you, set your lineups. I'm not your mom, okay? No.
You're not playing in a league with adults because they're not setting their lineup because guess what? They know they can't make the playoffs because only 4 teams do.
They're choosing not to participate. That is a choice. If you want to just donate your league fee every year.
Go into the playoffs for free. I had like the second most points in the league. It's fine.
Oh, no one has suffered like Michelle has suffered.
I can't play in non-serious leagues.
Okay. Well, Levin will gladly take your spot.
Oh, I know. And he'll have the same issues because he'll be so mad when people don't set their lineups.
Oh, JJ00 says, stage a coup, Michelle for commissioner.
Like, no one made you be commissioner. That's the thing, right? Like, if you don't want to do those things, then don't be commissioner. But you got to make sure people are setting their lineups.
No, I don't. Who wants that?
Then don't be the commissioner.
Why not? I can be the commissioner.
That's the job of the commissioner.
No, that's the job of every individual owner. I'm here to make sure that there's no collusion.
They should not be allowed to play next year if they're not setting lineups. That's just a thing.
How many friends do you think I have? I need people to fill the league. All right. Quickly, let's recap your best bets for the week.
Oh, you want me to say them again? Okay. So I have Isaiah Likely over 36.5 receiving yards. Christian McCaffrey over 18.5 rushing attempts. And then Brock Purdy, the one I feel best about, over 252.5 passing yards. Smash it.
Yeah, that Purdy passing yards number. The more I think about that 60-yard cushion, the more I think that's the bet I'm going to run to as soon as the show is over. I have Christian McCaffrey, anytime touchdown scorer in the first half. Deebo Samuel, longest reception over 22.5 yards. And George Kittle, anytime touchdown scorer. Michelle doesn't like my George Kittle bet. So full disclosure, you got to decide who you trust more. I'm just saying I hit 2 out of my 3 bets last week. You hit 1 out of your 3. I'm just,
if George Kittle scores a touchdown, I'm going to be jumping up and down because that's just going to be a great. Well, hopefully it means it's a great thing. Hopefully they're not down a lot. But I do want to hear so there's been this whole thing, right? That the Ravens feel so disrespected about the line at being at 5.5. Do you think the 49ers cover the 5.5?
I have to say yes at this point. They've won their last 6 by at least 12. And it's not like they've been playing a bunch of tomato cans in that stretch, too. That's the other thing that you have to remember. The 49ers schedule has been pretty good. Arizona last week, Seattle the week before, Philly the week before, Seattle again, Tampa the week before that, Jacksonville the week before that. It's not like, the Cowboys who play just the little sisters of the poor every week. The Niners have a decent schedule. So I don't know how you take them to not cover the spread. I really, especially as long as it's in the touchdown. Like, if I can win by a touchdown and cover the spread, I feel really comfortable. The Ravens can get mad about that all they want, but the facts are the facts. And the facts are when the 49ers
that's a fact on one side, right? But if you look at the other side, the Ravens' 3 losses, they've lost by a total of 12 points. So a minus 12 margin of defeat is the lowest in the NFL this year. So they're going to almost, if they lose by 6, that's going to be 1/3 added on to their total for the year. That's so if you look at both sides, the Ravens don't lose by much, and they don't really lose very often either. I do think the 49ers win. I don't think they cover this game.
But the Ravens also lost to the Colts and Gardner Minshew in overtime. They lost to the Steelers and little tiny baby hands, Kenny Pickett.
They always lose to the Steelers. I don't know why.
And they also lost to Cleveland, which so did the 49ers. Cleveland put up 33 points on them. I'm not saying the Ravens are a bad team. I'm saying the Ravens are not the best team, and they're playing the best team, and they're playing the best team at home. I think the Niners win. My official score prediction was 28-25. But again,
That's 3 points.
No, I know. What I do with my money and what I think is going to happen are two different things.
So my final prediction's 27-22. I think they win by 5 points or 4. Like I could see 4 points, but I think it's going to be very, very close to this. Could they cover? Yes, but I think it's going to be very, very close to this number. And I could, for some reason, I'm seeing 27-22, 5 points, and you would just miss out. But if you're guessing a 3-point, then how would you say that you feel great about them covering? How could you? You're like, I don't know how you could not say they're going to cover, but you personally are saying they're not going to cover.
Well, first of all, if history has shown us anything, my score predictions dicey.
So go against your score predictions, you're saying, and that's why you like your bet.
If you were going to bet, I'm just saying, if you were going to bet, history has shown the past 6 weeks, the Niners have easily covered the spread.
And I've been saying that every one of these weeks. I've been saying they're going to destroy them. They're going to destroy them. They're going to destroy them. And now they could destroy the Ravens, but the Ravens don't really get destroyed, right? That's not a thing that they do. They're very well coached. Lamar's very good. I think it's going to be a closer game. And then even if they do end up going up by a couple touchdowns and it's not even a close game, I think it ends up looking in the score or in the box score a close game. Right, because they'll score a late touchdown or something. Like they're not going to just give up, and that's my biggest worry.
Yeah, and I think even the Cardinals ultimately ended up putting up 29 points on the 49ers, but going into the fourth quarter, it was 35-16. So I feel like the Cardinals just added on a bunch at the end. Niners had some injuries at defensive tackle that really hurt them. They kind of got a little tired out in the game. The best part about this 49er team is you've got to beat them on both. You have to keep pace on both sides of the ball. Even if you can move the ball and score on that defense, it's not just can we score, it's can we score 30? Because the offense puts up 30 on everybody. That's the reassuring thing. And I think it's the thing that separates this 49er teams from the other great 49er teams that Kyle Shanahan has had.
I agree with you. I do. And I came into this episode very, very confident that the 49ers are going to beat the Ravens. And I would love to say I would love them to, if they can come out and just destroy the Ravens. Oh my goodness. This will make my Christmas. So, I mean, it's a double whammy for me, right? I know the Steelers aren't going anywhere this year, but I still love to see the Ravens get beat. I mean, that's a great Christmas present in its own. If it's the 49ers doing it, I hope they come out and just destroy them. I just don't think the Ravens get destroyed.
They're due. How about that? I think the Ravens are due for a destruction. Every time the 49ers have been challenged, they have not only responded, they have responded with a beatdown this year. They put 42 up on the Cowboys, they put 42 up on the Eagles, and they put 34 up on the Jags, which at the time, that looked like a big showdown game too. The Jags were 6-3 in the AFC, and the 49ers stomped them and didn't allow a touchdown. I think they rise to the level of competition this week. I really do.
And it's so funny because, before the season, we were like, the AFC is so loaded and the NFC is really weak, right? And the NFC is very top heavy, 100%. Yes. That came to fruition. That's true. It's really the 49ers, Cowboys, Eagles. And if you want to put the Lions in it, fine. But everyone else, I mean, you really aren't even giving them a chance to succeed in the playoffs. But the AFC side, maybe there's more depth and you don't really know who's going to make the playoffs. There's so many teams that could over there, and you don't know who's going to make it to the Super Bowl on that side because they're really not top heavy at all. I'm not impressed by any of these AFC teams. Honestly, if the Bills make the playoffs, they're the team that I would say I'm the most confident in making the Super Bowl, and they might not even make the playoffs. So I just, when I watch the Ravens, I don't see a dominant team. I really don't. It's not the same as when you watch the 49ers.
Yeah, I think you could make the argument the Bills are the scariest team in the AFC right now, and they're the 9 seed. So it just tells you. I mean, I think they've all beaten up on each other. It's taken the toll in the AFC, and you've had a bunch of quarterback injuries too.
So many.
Let's keep that in mind. Jacksonville's had quarterback issues. The Browns are starting Joe Flacco. That tells you what's happening with them. Cincinnati, obviously, with Joe Burrow. Indianapolis is the 7th seed. They lost Anthony Richardson for the whole season. The Texans are winning games somehow without CJ Stroud, which is awesome for them. So there are quarterback issues throughout the AFC. I don't know that Baltimore ends up the 1 seed. They've got
to even bring up Aaron Rodgers. Imagine if the Jets were in this right now. If Aaron Rodgers were playing all year, the Jets would probably be in this conversation. Like the AFC is just so random this year. And I think that's a big part of the Ravens being the number 1 seed and winning games. They're good. Yes, I don't want to take that away from them. They are good. They're a really, really well-coached team too, right? I think that's huge for them.
Mm-hmm.
It's just when you're comparing the talent and how good talent, I know you had it in your head. I say talent weird, apparently. It's just when you watch these two play, they're not playing in the same level right now. I think the 49ers are much better than them. So maybe I should be taking them to cover. I just think it's going to be a close game. I'm so excited for this game.
Robert Marquez says Niners players are so relaxed they're going to win by double digits against the Ravens. They've had an easy schedule and lost 17-10 to the Steelers. They can't score. We'll see. We'll see. I will say,
guys, the Ravens always struggle against the Steelers. It's right. A thing.
Chris Waddell says, just got in, so I'm going back to the beginning to watch the entire show. Just wanted to stop in and say, go Niners and Merry Christmas. Hopefully we don't over pursue and we tackle better this week. Stats don't laugh at my focus on our tackling issues. Chris has been pointing out the tackling for weeks, and I didn't poo-poo it, but I also pointed out that they were still blowing teams out, and I couldn't be super upset about the tackles when you're blowing teams out, but it has continued like we talked about, and they're playing a team with a guy, one of the toughest guys to tackle in the league, so it will be interesting to watch, but I am confident that the 49ers will score on offense. So the Ravens might be able to move the ball and score. I just don't think they're going to be able to score consistently enough to stop this offense because they are humming, and you just pointed out all show long they are humming at home. I think it's going to be a very Merry Christmas, Michelle.
Yes, Merry Christmas to everyone and to Chris. But also, Fred Warner needs to come up and have a huge game. This should be his game that he comes out on, just angry and mad and getting those tackles and hitting hard. Like the 49ers need a huge game out of Fred Warner.
And I'm not convinced. I think if he has a huge game, he could thrust himself in the Defensive Player of the Year conversation. Because to me, there's not an overwhelming. Who's the overwhelming favorite for Defensive Player of the Year right now?
I don't know, but he's not going to get it. I mean, if they're going to go with Deron Bland, if he gets another pick 6, he's going to get it, right? It's just going to happen. But also Myles Garrett, people just love him. I know he's not doing anything, but they're obsessed with him. TJ, he's just not going to be considered over these edge rushers. And then Deron Bland is a consideration. Parsons a consideration. It's not going to be given to an inside linebacker unless they had the most insane season ever. And Fred Warner's good. He's not even having the best season of his career, let alone an insane season for an inside linebacker.
The one thing he's been able to do is make game-changing plays. He's got 4 picks this year.
Guy comments Myles Garrett. He hasn't had a sack in 3 games. I'm so over Myles Garrett.
You hate Myles Garrett.
He's literally not doing anything, and people still want to give Myles Garrett. It's fine.
Aaron Rodriguez says, are you from Texas, Michelle?
I live in Houston, Texas right now, but I'm not from there. I'm from Syracuse, New York. I've lived in Cleveland, Ohio. I've lived in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. I've lived in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, and now I'm in Houston. I
think that because narrative is so much a part of the Defensive Player of the Year. It absolutely is. And I think that no one has really, there's people in contention, but no one has really risen above the rest. And if Fred continues to make game-changing plays, he's got 4 picks. He's got 4 forced fumbles this year. Obviously, they're playing on Christmas in front of everybody, primetime game against a really good team. If he has one of those games where he has a pick and a forced fumble or a pick and a sack, I think that if he has one of those games, he's going to be in that conversation when everybody reconvenes after the holiday.
maybe in the conversation, like, should we be considering him? But he does not have a chance to win.
Deron Bland has the record for most pick sixes in a season already, and nobody's talking about him as
Yeah, he
defense.
has very high odds for Defensive Player of the Year. Very high.
The odds might be high, but I feel like
that's more important than, I mean, if Vegas thinks he has very high odds of winning, I mean, he's obviously in the conversation. Vegas doesn't just put out odds for no fun. I mean, his odds are about 10 times better than Fred Warner's. I don't even know if he's a candidate, but
the odds in week 16 are a lot different than the odds after week 18, right? What did Fat Joe say?
Are they a lot different, or are they just slightly different?
Yesterday's price is not today's price. And the narrative is a huge part because people don't watch defensive football as closely as they watch.
People are. I mean, the Defensive Player of the Year maybe won't even be playing in week 18. So there's 2 weeks left. The top 4 right now, Deron Bland, I mean, it's actually pretty far away from the top 3. This is what I'm saying. It's really just the big names. It's Parsons is leading by a lot in the odds. Then there's Myles Garrett for whatever reason is second. TJ Watt is third. I don't think TJ Watt deserves it this year either. And he's leading the league in sacks, but he's not showing up with the big plays that the Steelers need. And then Deron Bland is fourth. But yeah, I mean, it's been a disappointing year for, you want to know how disappointing of a year it's been? Nick Bosa is 7th in odds right now.
He started slow, but he's been coming on since.
You can't even bet on Fred Warner to win. Oh yeah, you can. Just kidding.
What is he?
He's not that far down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. He's 12th.
12th. He's plus 7,500. Micah Parsons, if the Cowboys keep losing, he's not going to win. That's the other part of it too. If your team loses, you're not going to win.
Yeah, but they're going to make the playoffs no matter what. You can win. I mean, TJ Watt won it 2 years ago. It's not like the Steelers had a great record.
Right. Well, if you have like an insane year, I think you can overcome that. But because I feel like everybody's just kind of like, I feel like the lazy thing for Defensive Player of the Year.
The thing is, they really, really, really want to give it to Parsons. I think they came into this year, the league wants Parsons to win it. So if Parsons can put together a good last few good games, especially, I mean, this is a huge matchup for him. And they have 3 really big matchups. So they're all big games. If he can come through and at least 2 of those have some big splash plays, he's probably going to win it. And Myles Garrett, all he has to do is like have a sack each game, and they're going to just throw themselves at him because they love this dude. So he's going to have a way better chance as well. He doesn't even have to do anything really to win it this year if he doesn't want to. He could just sit out the rest of the year and they're still going to give it to him or try to.
I think there's a feeling with Myles Garrett that like he probably should have gotten one by now, and they haven't given it to him.
Be better than TJ Watt, and you would have gotten one by now.
Ooh, I love it. I love the hatred. D49 says, after the Jerry Rice interview on Fred Warner's show, I feel like he'll step up his game even more. He seems motivated. He was taking notes. Bring it, Fred. Look, I'm all for it. Let's throw yourself in that conversation, and hopefully he does, and hopefully the Niners are winning. Remember, after the game, well, actually, I should say before the game, you can hear us on 95.7 Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time. It is a new show, and it doesn't appear anywhere else. It's not a pod. It's not on YouTube. The only place you can hear it is 95.7 The Game. So please listen to that. And then after the game on Monday, we will be here for the Instant Reaction Show. I don't care that it's Christmas. I want to be here with you. So Levin and I will be on the Instant Reaction Show. So please, please, please join us, Michelle. And I want you to hop in the Instant Reaction Show as well. I don't care if you're working.
Oh, now I get an invite.
You're invited all the time on the Instant Reaction Show. I just assume you're busy working.
Oh, I didn't get the invite to the radio show still. Okay. I thought you were inviting me to the radio show. Okay, never mind. It's the Instant Reaction. We'll see.
Just dripping with bitterness.
You'll never hear me on the radio show because I'm not good enough, guys. It's fine. Levin is number 1. And Michelle does not get to be on the radio show. I will try to make the Instant Reaction. I don't have to work Christmas, so I'll try to be
nice.
Yeah.
I don't ever want to hear you say that Levin is sensitive again, because let me tell you, you are Charmony soft. I'm just saying that. I'm throwing that out there. But I hope you have
around the holidays I get a little bit more sensitive.
I hope you have a very happy, Merry Christmas. I hope everybody has happy holidays out there. If you give us any part of your day on Christmas, I will be eternally grateful to you. I never, ever, ever take that for granted. And yeah, Michelle, have a good Christmas. And hopefully we're celebrating a win.
Yes. Merry Christmas. Happy holidays. Everyone have an amazing weekend with your family. Bye, y'all.